The Last Jedi comic adaptation, written by Gary Whitta with art by Michael Walsh, wrapped up with its 6th issue. Like previous Star Wars movie comic adaptations, it offers up a handful of new and expanded scenes to provide more insight into the film, so today I'll be going over all of them. In the very first pages of the first issue, we see Luke alone on Ahch-To before Rey's arrival. He thinks about the Force to himself for a bit and recognizes that cutting himself off from it has been far more difficult than learning to feel it, or let it in, or control it. A lot of the new scenes are centered around Luke and his thoughts, which is great. This opening scene in particular reaffirms that he is disconnected from the energy that binds him to all living things, and reminds us that he has no idea what's going on out in the rest of the galaxy and that he wants it that way. When he finds out that Han is dead, he slips and the Force starts flooding back to him until Chewie calms him down with a hug. During the arrival of the First Order at the Resistance base, Poe hopes that they don't bring along another planet-killing ball because the bad guys need some new ideas. That's just a fun little jab at the second Death Star and Starkiller base, and I just think the overused planet-killer trope from Star Wars in general. I agree with Poe, and pretty much the only real hope that I have for Episode 9 right now is that there is not a Starkiller base too. That same scene gives more dialogue to Admiral Ackbar, who gets more to do in his limited screen time. In the second issue, he even gets some final words about being honored to serve with the Resistance before being blown out into space. During Leia's spacewalk, we get to see her internal monologue, very similar to the way we see Luke's. I think it's cool to see that her use of the Force was a conscious decision and not automatic. In the books, we've seen Leia as a child use the Force in life or death situations without really knowing what she was doing, but now we can see that she has learned to have at least some control. The way Holdo is handled in the comic is a little less ambiguous. She clearly states that she has a plan, just not one that she wants to share with Poe. She is harsh with him because she doesn't favor him the way Leia did. This is the exact same situation we have in the movie, just more cut and dry. Poe, on the other hand, is even more harsh with Holdo. I think that's to really drive home that he is crossing a line, although I thought the mutiny illustrated that enough. When Rey is called to the dark side during her first lesson, Luke walks away, but instead of just fearing that she will turn out like Ben, he also sees himself in her, and that scares him even more. He continues to relate to her when he watches her training alone at the Rock. He sees that she is clearly a talented fighter, but is too driven by her emotions. She is impetuous, and her impatience tells her that she's ready when she's not. When Rey eventually leaves the island, that connection between his past and her present is brought up again, but even while he judges her for those qualities, she winds up encouraging him to reconnect with the Force, and we learn that Luke does regret that he abandoned Leia and Han in their time of need. When he goes to burn down the Jedi library, he recalls how many times he has tried and failed to follow through, but this time his reconnection to the Force allows Yoda to pay him that visit. That makes me wonder about Force ghosts and how they work. People have been asking, well, why doesn't Anakin just show up and talk some sense into Kylo Ren? But I think that maybe Force ghosts can't just appear to whoever they want. I think the person they want to talk to has to be open to the visit. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, with Luke's surprise appearance on Crait, he delivers a few extra lines to Leia, but my favorite one is that there are alternatives to fighting, mirroring Obi-Wan's line to Han in A New Hope. It's a perfect callback to that moment right before Luke pulls the ultimate representation of that philosophy. And with that, we get Luke's final thoughts as a being not yet one with the Force. As he fades away, he thinks about how he's stepping into a larger world. Those final lines gave me so much hope for his appearance in Episode 9. I hope Luke gets to find even more redemption as a teacher now that he has joined Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Qui-Gon in the Force. I'm still holding out hope to just see all of them together. But that brings us to the end of the comic and this video. Most of the extra time was spent with Luke, which again I think was a great idea. Now that we know for sure Mark Hamill will be in the next film, being able to get in his head a little more helped me understand his decisions and motivations. If you haven't read this comic for yourself, I thought it was a worthy adaptation. If you liked The Last Jedi, you'll probably like it. If you didn't like The Last Jedi, this comic won't change your mind. If you read it, let me know what your favorite added scenes were in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.